Hey everyone, this is Finchy with Finchezda Productions, and today we are looking at the time-consuming game Spelunky, a platformer game where your only goal is to work your way through maze-like levels that are randomly generated in order to reach the exit on the other side. Sounds easy, right? Not so much. Luckily, there are plenty of items scattered across the game's 20 levels that will aid you in your quest. Some are more useful than others. Today, we are counting down the top 10 most useful items in Spelunky. Let's get to the countdown. Number 10, Spider Paste. Spider paste can be obtained several ways. You can buy it from shop owners, you can find it in the ground, or the most common way to get it is by killing spiders. Spider paste is really useful because it makes your bombs stick to walls and enemies. In the later levels of this game, it becomes extremely useful as you fight some of the bosses of the game. Normally your bombs would just bounce off of walls, but with the spider paste they latch right on. The only reason this is so far down the list is because when you run out of bombs, the spider paste becomes basically useless. Let's move on. Number 9, the KAPALA. The KAPALA proves itself to be one of the most useful items in the game when you get it. The reason it made it so far down the list is because of its difficulty to obtain. First, let's talk about what it does. The KAPALA collects blood from enemies. Whenever you get 8 droplets of blood, you get 1 heart back. Every time you're hit by most enemies, you lose a heart. Some enemies even take away 2 hearts. So you can imagine how this is really useful later on in the game in order to get hearts. The only other way to get hearts is to rescue the damsels in distress, which can be found in every level and must be brought to the exit. The best part about the KAPALA is almost everything bleeds, so it's easy to get blood. The reason it's number 9 on the list is because you have to sacrifice enemies or damsels at altars, which don't even have to appear in levels. You have to sacrifice a total of 2 damsels to get this, or somewhere around 8 regular enemies, which means you have to find a level with an altar in it first, and then you have to take all of the enemies to the altar while they're still alive. If the enemy is dead, it barely counts as points for getting the KAPALA. If it wasn't for how hard this was to get, it would probably be number 1 on the list. Well, let's move on. Number 8, Royal Jelly. I kind of spoke out of term on number 9 by saying the KAPALA was the only other way to get health other than the damsels. The Royal Jelly actually gives you a massive amount of health whenever you pick it up. In order to find the Royal Jelly, you have to make it to the jungle level, which is the second of the 5 worlds in the game. When you're in the jungle level, you have to be lucky enough to have a beehive level spawn. As I said, terrain in this game is randomly generated, so there are several things that might and might not spawn on one certain run, such as altars, terrain like the bee and the jetpack spaceship, and idols, which give you money. If you spawn in a jungle level that has a beehive, 99% of the time, there will be a queen bee inside of it. In order to get the Royal Jelly, all you have to do is kill the queen bee. This proves to be a little bit of a challenging task. The queen bee does quite a bit of damage, so you can die very easily doing this. When you get the Royal Jelly, it adds 4 hearts to your bar. This can be a really good boost this early on in the game, and might power some people to make it to the hell level. It's so far down on the list because you need to have the luck of getting a bee level, then you need to be able to kill the queen bee, which can prove to be kind of challenging. Alright, let's move on. Number 7, Spike Boots. The spike boots can be obtained at almost every level. If you're lucky, you can find them hidden away in the ground, but the most common way is by buying them from shop owners or getting them in boxes. With the spike boots, you can jump on enemies and kill almost all of them in one hit. It basically doubles the amount of damage your jump attack does. Like I said in number 8, the spike boots are really good for killing the queen bee and other sub-boss enemies like the frog and the yeti. In the stores, they're generally pretty cheap, so they're worth the buy. Like I said, all the smaller enemies can basically be killed with 1 jump, and the bosses only take a couple of jumps. Some of them can't even be hurt without the spike boots. The spike boots also have one last small effect that some people don't even know about. When you're on the ice level, which is the 3rd world in the game, you don't slip on ice. That's kinda nice because most gamers hate ice levels mainly because of the sliding mechanic. Let's move on. Number 6, the Mattock. For those of you who don't know, a Mattock is a pickaxe basically. In Spelunky, it can be used the same way that bombs can be used, to get through walls and to dig up gems. The Mattock is extremely useful and normally pretty easy to find, I would say 50% of the time you start a new game on Spelunky, you'll find a Matic within the first level. If you're trying to beat the true ending of the game, you will almost definitely need a Matic to dig up gems and conserve your bombs. One of the reasons the Matic landed so far down the list is because after several uses it breaks. And even after it breaks, you can pick up the other half of the Matic and throw it at enemies to kill them. The Matic is a truly glorious weapon. Oh, and I forgot to mention, you can hit enemies with it too. So let's count off what you can do with the Matic. Dig up gems, dig through walls, hit enemies with it, throw it at enemies, and throw its top at enemies. Yep, it is definitely a pretty useful weapon. Let's move on. Number 5. Shotgun. The shotgun is one of the easiest items to find in the game. All shop owners own a shotgun, so in order to get it, all you need to do is kill the shop owner and take the gun from them. That's a lot easier said than done, by the way, so do not try that. Most times the best option is to just buy it or get lucky and find it in a box. I always find myself going, yes, a shotgun, every time I find it. It is great for killing almost all of the enemies in the game, and its long range proves very useful. One of the best things about the shotgun is its ability to kill the sub-boss enemies such as the spider, frog, yeti, and Anubis. It will kill most of these enemies in 2 to 3 shots, so it's pretty easy to see its usefulness. Also, it has infinite ammo. I mean, you can't go wrong with a shotgun that has infinite ammo. I could sit here and shoot this thing all day if the ghost wouldn't come and kill me. Number 4. Jetpack. Ah, the jetpack, one of the best items in the game. You're gonna love the jetpack so much that whenever you see that blue color, you are literally gonna flip out. That's the way I feel every time I see the jetpack, unless it's in a shop and I have to buy it for 20,000 gold. That is actually a little bit pricey, and a lot of times it's extremely hard to buy the jetpack in this game. There are actually a couple ways where you can find it without being in a shop. If you get really lucky, you'll get the jetpack from a crate. There are crates scattered across all of the levels. Also, if you're in the ice level and you run across a level that says, I feel a strong psychic presence, that's another level where you can find the jetpack. It's hidden in the back of this ship behind this giant alien. All you have to do is kill the alien, get past the lightning beams, and blow up the back of the ship and the jetpack is yours. The jetpack pretty much takes away the platforming element of the game. You can't fly infinitely because the jetpack runs out of fuel after a few seconds of flight, but when you land it recharges. No longer do you have to worry about falling and taking damage because you can just spam the jetpack button to avoid the damage. This would have been farther down the list because of its difficulty to find, but it makes its way to the number 4 spot because of how useful it is. Let's move on. Number 3, Plasma Gun. The plasma gun is a guaranteed find every time you play the game. The 4th level of the ice world will always say it feels like the 4th of July. This means that there's an alien UFO to the left or right side of the screen, and that's the second exit to this level. Some of the levels have 2 exits, such as the jungle and the ice worlds having an exit where you can go into a giant worm, or the temple world having the exit to the city of gold. In the ice world where it says this feels like the 4th of July, the UFO will take you into the alien mothership. The alien mothership is one of the most psychotic levels in the game aside from the hell level. There are things everywhere shooting at you with psychic beams, trying to shoot bombs at you, and trying to blast you away with lasers. If you're lucky enough to make it to this alien spaceship level with 20 or more bombs, you pretty much have a straight shot to the alien queen at the very top of the ship. Behind her is the plasma cannon. This cannon is absolutely crazy. It basically has the same effect of your bombs, except for it shoots in a straight line and has infinite ammo. You would no longer need bombs with this thing. It kills basically every enemy in one hit. I've only got this weapon once or twice, but every time I did get it, I had a great time. There's nothing funner than blasting away mummies or scarabs or everything. I feel like I'm crazy for putting this so high on the list because of how hard it is to obtain, but I couldn't resist. Just be glad it's not making the number 1 spot. Let's go to number 2. Number 2. The climbing glove. The climbing glove has to be one of the most useful items in the game. That pretty much goes without saying since it made it to my number 2 spot. It's real similar to the jetpack in its usefulness, as you can negate fall damage by latching onto a wall. Also, you can climb up walls by latching, jumping, and then latching again. The reason this made it above the jetpack on this list is because of how easy it is to obtain. I say 75% of the time you will get a climbing glove in the first world. Also, if you find it in a store, it's pretty darn cheap too for what it does. this. It will really help you later on in the game, and paired with the jetpack, you can basically move freely through every level. To be honest, there's really not much more to say about this. It's just amazingly useful in every level of the game. Let's go to the number 1 pick. Number 1. Bombs. I know I should have not included bombs on this list, but they are an item that can be used. The bombs are by far your most useful ally in the game. Bombs can be found on every single level with a little bit of luck. They can be found inside crates, bought from stores, or found inside of walls. With bombs, you can kill every enemy in the game with ease and blast your way to the exit, making levels extremely short. A lot of times though, bombs are in very short supply, but I have been on Spelunky runs before where I have upwards of 50 bombs. If you get lucky enough, you'll get bomb boxes from crates, which contain 12 bombs. These are a godsend. I would say in Spelunky, bombs are by far the most useful item in the game. Bombs are basically the only way you can beat the game. The last main boss, Olmec, can be made 100 times easier with the use of 20 or so bombs. If you play your cards right, you can make it to this boss battle with that many bombs 95% of the time. All you have to do is trap Olmec into a corner, run to the opposite side of the room, and bomb the floor. Olmec will then work his way across the room and jump into the hole you created in the floor. Normally you would have to have him break the floor by trying to hit you, very similar to the boss battle in Super Mario Bros. 3, which is really dangerous, as most people might know. Like I said, with the bombs, this boss battle becomes so much easier. That is why the bombs have made it to the number 1 spot on my list. Accessibility and usefulness. Alright guys, if you enjoyed this video, please leave it a thumbs up so I know that you want more, and comment and tell me you want another video. I really hope you guys have a good day. This is Finchy with Finchezda Productions, and I'm out.